Hey everyone, it's Rose and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to talk about all the books I read in September. Now September was the month of the slump for me in terms of not necessarily how many books I was reading, but how I was reading. I would go days without reading anything and then I would end up finishing 60% of a book but then picking nothing else up for days. So whilst I still managed to read 10 books this month, it was a very slumpy month for me. But we did find a new 5-star read, so we've got some interesting books to talk about, so let's just go and get straight on into the pile I've got beside me. The first book I finished in September was Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson, which I rated 4 stars. This is sapphic horror, and the ending, nothing could have prepared me for it. It was so good. If you want a book that is gonna get you, no matter how much you think you figured it out, read this book. I can't really tell you anything about it because it is very short. I will say that the writing is very poetic and I ended up really liking that. When I first started it, I wasn't too sure because poetic writing usually isn't for me, but I ended up getting hooked and invested in the love story and all the little hints where red flags were being ignored. I was picking up on them and the ending was so worth it. I really like how it says here, this is a deliciously dark tale of passion taking an unsavory turn. I really recommend, but check content warnings because it is horror. Then I found my 5-star read of the month, a very underrated and unexpected 5-star. I went into this thinking that it was going to be kind of so bad it's entertaining, unhinged, and something fun to vlog my experience reading, and I ended up devouring it. Every time I wasn't reading it, I was thinking about it. I was desperate to get back to it. It was so unique. It had so many twists and turns, and it is none other than Desperate Run by M.L. Burns and C.J. Riggs. This was a dark romance. It is something I have never read before. It's basically set at this famous haunted carnival where you pay $10,000 to get in, and it's for people that want like the ultimate spook and thrill. Basically there are like mazes, and when you enter these mazes, like after you've paid this money, you sign a contract to say like if you get caught, the scare actors are able to do anything to you. Like even it can go as far as murder. Like you're almost signing away your life because it's the risk you're taking to try and get through these mazes, and there's like a prize if you win, but no one ever wins because it's too hard and people get too scared and like bow out. You can bow out, there's like a safe word and stuff, but oh my gosh, this was so good. There was so much backstory in our main characters' lives, so much of it was shrouded in mystery on both ends, and I was turning those pages every time, like so excited to see when we were gonna get another like little hint of what was going on. There's so much mystery, there was so much tension, there was so much suspense. It was so good, it was so thrilling, and I loved it. Again, check content warnings, it was dark. The actual romance was not dark. Everything else about the book was. So then I decided to pick up Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman, which I rated 4 stars. This again is a dark romance. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the synopsis of this meant that I knew I was either going to hate it or love it depending on how it was done, and it was done very well and I loved it. This is about a woman whose sister is engaged, and this woman has hated her sister's fiance for the 15 years they've been together, and like 3 weeks before they're supposed to get married, she gets kidnapped with her sister's fiance. They're trapped in a basement and their hatred has to turn to working together to try and get out. Now with that you're thinking, I'm never going to be able to get behind this because there's going to be cheating involved, or like the sister's going to be innocent and blindsided, and how could I root for that romance? And it is nothing like what it sounds like at all. I ended up rooting for them so much. It was very dark, very deep, very twisted, and I cried multiple times. Please check content warnings, but this is a book I definitely recommend. Next up, we have Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, which I'm sad to say I rated 3 stars. Now 3 stars is a good rating, don't get me wrong, but from the way this series was hyped, I went in with such high expectations and I felt a little bit disappointed actually. I mean, there are still 2 more books in this trilogy and maybe I will like them more, but I'm not itching to continue this series at the moment. I don't know why. It was magical, it was young adult, it was fairy tale-esque, but I just didn't care. I really wanted to, I really tried, and I did really like the book, but it was nothing amazing, and I think maybe I had too high expectations. I have been saying recently, I'm realising I'm not usually a fan of young adult fantasy, but I did really think that this can maybe be the exception, and maybe it will still be, because like I said, this is the first book in our trilogy. I am going to continue, but I don't know when. It's not a priority to continue. Then I read Lotus by Jennifer Hartman, again, and rated this 4 stars. The main guy in this book is very, very briefly mentioned in Still Beating, and that was what like sold me on reading this book, because she reads a news article in that book about a boy who went missing 22 years ago, has now been found alive as a man, and I was like, I need to read that story. I wouldn't class this as dark romance, and I think it's more classed as romantic suspense anyway, as like how it's been advertised. I would say this is a really good book if you want to, if you're normally a contemporary romance reader and you want something that will bridge the gap between contemporary romance and dark romance. You don't just want to hop straight in. I think this is a really good one to bridge the gap. Again, check content warnings, but like I said, this is about a boy who went missing as a child. 22 years later, he is found alive now as a man, and he moves back in with his brother, who is living in the house that the boys grew up in, and the girl who was best friends with this boy as a child is now an adult and living next door. A lot of it is shrouded in mystery because the boy, Oliver, now a man, doesn't have any proper memories of his past before he was taken, because in all the years he was taken, I don't want to say what was going on there, the like memory sort of twisted and turned into dreams kind of, and he doesn't know what's real and what's not. He also is not talkative and doesn't talk about his experience and what happened to him when he was missing. You slowly start to learn things, but there is still some things that you get all your answers, but it takes a long time, and there is a lot more that happens. I will say it was a little bit slow in terms of plot, like we were kind of just getting him healing and stuff and we weren't really getting any answers. The last 30%, so many different things that you didn't think were important at all like pieced together and added up, and it ended up there was so much more to the story than I ever could have imagined, and this was so good. Then I read Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio and rated this 4 stars. This was a novella. It was really fun. It was about, was it 5 characters, and they all have some sort of sleep disorder, whether that be like insomnia or something like that, when they all like meet up at night sometimes because none of them can ever sleep. They like to meet in a graveyard, and one day they witness a man dropping something into an open grave, and it all unfolds from there. This is horror. It is kind of grim. It is really interesting, and for an 127 page book, I was really invested. We then unfortunately have a very disappointing read, which I would have and probably should have DNF'd if it wasn't for the fact I was reading it for a video. This is Diary by Chuck Palahniuk. This is about a woman whose husband tried to kill himself and is now in a coma, so she starts writing him like her diary for if he ever wakes up and needs to remember things. We go from present to what is happening, and then past, which is them meeting and like falling for each other. These two are like in art school when they meet. 50% of this book could have just been me reading an art history textbook. So many useless names, dates and facts about art. None of it was relevant to the story. It was just her detailing conversations they had had about art. The payoff was disappointing. The ending was disappointing. The whole book was boring, and I have nothing good to say about this, honestly, so we're gonna move on. Then we have a good one. This is The Lamb by Lucy Rhodes, which I rated 4 stars. This is so good. It is so hard to explain. It's horror There's sapphic elements. It's coming of age in a way. We're reading from the perspective of a girl who lives in the woods with her mother, and they are cannibals. They lure in strays, so people who've got lost in the woods and find this cottage and then end up eating them. And there's a lot more to it than that, but honestly I really recommend you going in just knowing that, because the ending is going to be very polarizing, but I absolutely ate it up. Ugh. I don't like that phrase now that I've just spoken about cannibals, but this is really good. I did a little reread of Satan's Affair by H.D. Carlton. I really want to reread the Cat and Mouse duet because they were both 5 stars for me, but also I have Phantom and Where's Molly on my TBR and I really want to refresh before going into them. I rated this 4 stars. The first time I read it, it was 5 stars. It was good. I had a fun time. It was a quick and easy read. However, I think I kind of ruined it for myself because once you know the ending, like, I wouldn't suggest rereading this because I knew what was going on the whole time, whereas my first experience not knowing was so much better. Obviously, that is no fault to this book. It's on me for rereading it. But yeah, that's why I went from a 5 to a 4. This is dark. This is a dark romance as well, by the way. And the last book I read this month was Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner, which I rated 3.5 stars. This is sapphic romance, so you know I loved it. It's 2 footballers. One has been on the team for years and the other one is just joining. She used to be a fan. She still is a fan, but now she's also her teammate. And they kind of have like a friends with benefits situation, but the rules are not really... They're very confusing. There's a lot of miscommunication, but not in like an annoying way. Kind of in a frustrating way, but also I will say our main girl has ADHD. And our other main girl does briefly mention autism being something she might want to look into. And as soon as she said that, I was like, all of her traits that I thought I noticed, I wasn't going crazy. So she's not diagnosed with autism, but it is briefly mentioned and it's something I picked up on. There is so much good LGBTQ plus representation all across the board. We've got bi, we've got lesbian, we've got non-binary, we've got trans, we've got aro ace. We've got so much and it was really good. The reason I rated this 3.5 stars is because I do think it could have been a bit less back and forth and back and forth. We could have either dragged out the in-betweens or done a bit less of the back and forth because it did get a bit repetitive, but other than that, it was really good. And those are the 10 books I read in September. I do feel myself starting to ease out of my slump now, so hopefully we have some good books in October. Again, I don't care about how many books I read. I still read 10 books this month, but the slump was like the in-between of the reads, and I was also in a bit of a life slump going back to work after such a long break, but that's something we don't need to get into right now. My point is I am feeling really excited about my reading plans for October. If you would like to see more from me, please be sure to like and subscribe as I post new videos every single week. I hope you have a lovely day and I will see you in another video. Bye!